Hey, what's going on, Freedom Members? Alright, this might be a life changing, like it is for me, training that is gonna, it's really altering the way I think about my business. It alters the way I think about my business. And we're talking about, you can say for the title or the status of things what the difference between a job and a job and an entrepreneurship is like. Now, what I had to come to terms with just now, because the universe just clicked into my head, that entrepreneurship, and I get why by Brendan Burchard. I'll write this name here. Why Brendan Burchard named the book that he wrote most recently. He wrote the book High Performance Habits. He didn't talk about high successful people. But highly performance habits. And what the universe just sprouted upon me is what we're going to talk about in this video. About what a job and what entrepreneurship really is. So, in the title of things, this is more of the job and the entrepreneur. Right? So I had to understand, right? Like, yo, let me break it down. Like, this is the creator, and this is just the creative, right? Let me break it down, right? So when you're an entrepreneur, you're performance driven, and that means there is a incline and there's a decline or a down. Yeah, that's supposed to say decline, right? Or a decline. There is no or rise or fall. There is no in between, right? There's either or, rise or fall. With activities, you can be pretty flatline and not dead, but pretty like if it goes up, that's cool. If it goes down, but it's pretty streamlined. It's pretty like going in one straight or pretty much one direction, right? But and the second point to activity based is that they're passive about losing. So in other words, I'll get them next time. Like they're okay with like they think about next time and shit. When you're a performance based person, you hate to lose. Like it's like winning is like life and death for you. It's not even about like you'll get them next time. You don't think about tomorrow. You think about right now. It's life or death for you. When you're activity driven, it's just about the task. It's just about you doing what you're supposed to do today. And when you're performance driven, you're about results and goal driven behavior. So it's not just tasks, because you have to commit to tasks in this, but you have to also focus on what are you trying to get every single day. Like, what are the analytics? What are the how are you growing? What did you do? What can you do better than what you had yesterday? Right? When you're at you say a job or you're doing an activity, you have low possibility of getting paid anymore. Meaning like, yeah, that's just clearing this out. It's a low possibility of you getting paid more when you're activity driven because you're flatline. You're okay with losing or winning. It's okay. You're just about the tasks, and it doesn't really matter if you win or not. When you're when you're I've got to write this here. When you're performance based, you is a high possibility that you get paid more. Right? And you have to and has to develop new skills, even if that means you're looking at your weaknesses and you're saying, I need to develop that, or I need to eliminate that because you're performance driven. That means you're looking at your performance and say, yo, I can't do that activity because I'm gonna perform. It's gonna make me perform at a certain level that I can't fuck with, right? When you're activity driven, it's okay to indulge in your weaknesses. To some extent, your weaknesses, they it doesn't matter if you have them or not because you're focused only solely on your strengths. And I learned if you want to be performance driven, that you may have to even ignore your strengths in the sense of saying just because you're strong at something doesn't mean you're performing. It just you could be strong and doing a lot of activities, but you're not performing at a higher level, at a result driven, goal driven behavior. It just means you're strong at the shit. That could mean you could be falling, but you're strong at the shit. You know what I'm saying? When I say strong, meaning you're better than most, but you're not really rising. You know what I'm saying? They do what they hate. Performance people do what they hate, and what that means is, or what they feel very uncomfortable with, because a lot of times, or let's make it more clear, right? You do the hard decisions. Meaning, if you gotta make funnels, if you gotta build your email list, if you gotta um if you gotta build your email list, you gotta go out there and do whatever. They do whatever it takes because it's about the results at the end of the day. They don't give a fuck about what they have to, if they hate it or not. If what they hate is gonna bring them the results that they need, they do it. Period. They do it. When you're activity based, you're you're okay with doing it. You're okay with doing it the long route. And if it's outside, and you're okay with doing it the long route, and you only do stuff you only do stuff that's pleasurable or in your strength quality. Meaning, if it's not in your strength, you don't do it. And I had to grow out of this because I had to learn, if I only do what I'm strong at, that may not bring me the wealth that I need to leverage into my pleasures, etc., etc. When you're performance driven, you're required to get a mentor. Why? To not waste unnecessary time. You're required to get a mentor when you are performance driven because you don't want to waste unnecessary time. When you're performance driven, I got this from, again, High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard. You need clarity. They perform activity people don't care if the long route is taken. They possibly even prefer it because it makes them feel like they're going along a journey. When you're performance based, success when you're performance based, success is a process, not a journey. And I get it now why that Dan Pena says he's a high performance guy, because when you're performance driven, you don't care about the journey. You care about the process, about so you can duplicate that. Why do you care about the process? So you can duplicate it in other areas. When you're activity driven, you're super focused on the journey. You're super focused on how you feel about it and all that other stuff. So because I'm learning to be like a deeply high performer, or the psychology of one. So when you're performance driven, again, success is a journey for you, not a process. When you're activity driven, remember what I said. When you're activity driven, like a job, you're focused on. You're okay with taking the long route. You're so okay with taking the long route and possibly prefer it because because it's a journey for you, because you feel that it's taking you places. When you're performance driven, you need, like, what results is that bringing me? You're willing to do what you hate just to get the result that you need. When you're activity driven, you don't do stuff you hate. You only do stuff that's pleasurable. You only do stuff that brings you quality. I had to deeply understand this, because I'm growing out of this section right here. If you really want to be successful, you have to grow out of this section. You have to know when to get out of activity mode, because usually when you get successful, you lean back here because you're comfortable now. So you just focus on the activities instead of what's growing you. And this may be the most uncomfortable shit you're ever gonna do. When you're activity based, it's just on what keeps you going. When you're activity based, you're focused on what motivates you. This is gonna be on YouTube, yo. Well, you're definitely gonna be part of my free training. But when you're activity driven, you're focused on what motivates you. When you're performance driven, you're like, what is putting me in deep alignment? You don't care about what fucking motivates you. You don't give no fucks about fucking motivation when you're performance driven. You like, what's gonna bring me in alignment with my goal? And if it doesn't bring me in alignment with my goal, I'm not fucking with it. So that's real shit. I'm getting out of this line, being transparent. I'm getting out of this world. And that's what Spirit had to reveal to me today. When you're activity driven, you're so focused on what motivates you. You give no fucking fucks about, I need motivation. No, I used to say, dude, is what I'm doing aligning with my goals? And if not, I can't fuck with it. Because it's about performance. You'll do what you hate because you hate losing. When you're performance driven, losing is life and death. It's not even like there's no in between. When you're activity driven, you're passive about losing. I'll get him next time. I'll do it later. It's all right. You be in your feelings about the shit. Like you be alright with losing. Like you'll get him next time. There is no next time when you losing. Like, for instance, what comes to mind is when the last time Michael Jordan lost to the Pistons, he cried because he hates losing. He hates losing. And he was like, I can't fuck with that dumb shit. So he's like, he does it. And he won another ring after that. So, so 6, when you're performance driven, it's part of your identity. And I'm growing into this. It's part of who you are. It's not, and when you're activity driven, it's outside of you. Like, this is my job. Like, it's something extra that you do. Like, that's just something you do. When you're performance driven, it's part of your identity. This is who I am, even if that means I have to carve out a new version of me to get the results I need. Even if that means I have to become a totally different person to get my results, because they're task driven. So they do what it takes to to get the tasks done, the to-do lists. Because I'm learning, when you want to make more money, you have to perform at a certain level. You can't do activities. You have to perform at a certain level. And to make it happen over and over, and especially when it's on automation. When you're performance driven, you're very specific and picky about who you associate with. Why? Because you're results driven. I'll give a short story. When I was homeless, and I was with this guy who was a good dude, but because I'm so goal and results driven, he was like, I was gonna be homeless for a long time. I was gonna be homeless for 4 years, and blah 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 blah. And I was focusing on what's gonna give me the results that I need, and I had to leave him alone and stop being his friend. And he fed me every night. He showed me where to get clothes. He showed me where to sleep at night, etc., etc. And because success was becoming more and more a part of my identity, because homelessness was part of his identity, so he was, it was like his job to be where he was. I had to leave him alone because where I wanted to be, my performance said I couldn't fuck with you, because he performed at a level where he had no phone, he didn't have no goals. He wanted to be when you're activity based, like I said, you're about the journey. You taking the long fucking route. And when he said he wanted to be rich, he was taking some long fucking route. And I said, I don't got time for that. I was very specific. I know how I'm going to get rich, and that's the internet. That's social media. I know how I'm going to get wealthy. I know where I'm going to take my money after I do internet. And that's going to be real estate. I know where I want to be. So he was not clear. That's another thing. Again, he did not have clarity. When I told him, yo, you should be reading books, and we were homeless, because I bought books when I was homeless. I was reading Think and Grow Rich when I was homeless. I was like, you should be reading books because you need clarity. He was like, he wanted clarity. It was a double because one is a double entendre, so that means you have it or you don't have it. I needed it. So when the opportunity came, I left. So that's why I was there for 11 months, and he was there for 4 years. Because he sought no clarity. I was there for 11 months, he was there for 4 years. So, these two last but not least here, performance-driven people are long-term, they're long-term, what does that say? What the fuck did I just write? Ideals? Okay, so they're long-term thinkers, and yeah, that's supposed to be mindset. They're long-term mindset, and activity people are present day mindset. So they only care about what's going on today, next week, next month, next year. Performance-driven people care about. Performance-driven people care about what's their 40-year plan, their 100-year plan. They care about stuff that's 20 years from now. When you're talking to a person who is performance driven, when you're talking to a person who is activity driven, they can't tell you nothing more than what they want in the next 3 months. Usually, I know where I want to be by 35, 40, 50, 60. I know what I want to own by the time I'm that age. I know what I want. I know where how much. I know when I want to have kids, which is 35. I know when I want to get married. I know who. I know I can. I know when you're performance driven. You know what career of a woman you cannot have. I know for a fact I can't marry an employee. I cannot. She will not qualify to work with me. I cannot because I'm so results driven. She will not be able to keep up with me. She will bore me. So because she cannot teach me nothing that I don't already know. Or I can hire somebody to replace her. She cannot challenge me in a way that's unspeakable because she doesn't know my pain. She doesn't know my hate. If you don't know my hate, we can't be together. If losing is not life or death for you, you cannot be my mate. Because I'm already developing a hatred for losing. A deep-seated hatred. So, hey, what's going on? So, but when you're with a woman, the reason why I say that I've seen this with my mom. She was activity driven, so she had the tasks. She didn't develop many skills. She didn't develop. Her pay didn't really go up. She only did what made her feel good and what her strengths were qualified. She took the long route for success. Um, what's her name? Talking about what are the differences between a person who we're talking about the difference between jobs and entrepreneurship, really, but in its core, activity and performance based mindset. So, and last but not least, when you're performance driven, you demand preservation of your legacy. When you're not performance driven, you're okay with your stuff dying. So, when you're not performance driven, I don't really care who's here, to be honest with you. When you're not performance driven, and that's actually a good one. When you're performance driven, you don't care if one person is watching. When you're activity driven, well, you care about this long term, but in the moment, you're doing what it takes. But in the short term, most activity driven people care about who's watching. They're obsessed about the details and the numbers. No, I know I was just using that because that's actually a good analogy. But when you're performance driven, you demand preservation of your own legacy. You demand it. When you're not when you're not activity driven, when you're activity driven, excuse me, you're okay with after your death shit disappearing. When you're when you're um when you're not when you're activity driven, you're okay with the fact that if everything was gone tomorrow and nobody remembered you, that wouldn't matter. Because you did what you needed to do in this lifetime. So when you're performance driven, you say somebody needs to take my torch and run with it. My bloodline needs to continue. So that's the difference between performance based and performance based and activity based mindset. This is the mindset you want to have. At least be on the performance side. You got to pick a side, which side you want to be on. So go to bit.ly/free 15 minutes. Again, that's bit.ly/free 15 minutes so we can help you perform and make more money online. Peace.